The Thornton mansion bustled with excitement as final preparations for Ethan's birthday party were underway. Colourful balloons and streamers adorned the once austere halls, transforming the space into a child's wonderland. Gabriel, dressed in a casual sweater instead of his usual tailored suit, supervised the setup with a mixture of joy and nervousness. "Daddy, look at the cake." Ethan's excited voice rang out as he burst into the room, his eyes wide with wonder at the three-tiered superhero-themed confection. Gabriel scooped up his son, marveling at how much he'd grown in just a year. "It's amazing, buddy. Just like you." Olivia entered, carrying a giggling Noah on her hip. "Everything looks perfect, Gabriel. You've outdone yourself." As Gabriel gazed at his family, he felt a warmth in his chest that still surprised him. This happiness, this sense of belonging was something he never thought he'd experience. The journey from cold-hearted businessman to devoted father hadn't been easy, but moments like these made it all worthwhile. The doorbell chimed, signaling the arrival of the first guests. Soon the mansion was filled with the laughter and chatter of excited children and their parents. Gabriel found himself engaged in conversation with other fathers, discussing Little League and school projects, topics that would have bored him to tears just a year ago, but now filled him with genuine interest. As the party reached its peak, Gabriel stood back, watching Ethan surrounded by friends, his face lit up with joy. Olivia sidled up to him, slipping her hand into his. "Happy?" she asked, her eyes twinkling. Gabriel nodded, unable to find words to express the depth of his contentment. But as he opened his mouth to respond, a commotion at the front door caught his attention. "Sir, ma'am, you can't just barge in here." The security guard's voice was strained, tinged with alarm. Gabriel's body tensed, years of business instincts kicking in. He moved swiftly towards the source of the disturbance, Olivia close behind. In the foyer stood a couple, a man and woman, both disheveled and wild-eyed. The woman's gaze darted around frantically until it locked onto something behind Gabriel. Her face crumpled, a strangled sob escaping her lips. "Hi, Ethan," she whispered, her voice breaking. Gabriel whirled around to see Ethan frozen in the doorway, his eyes wide with shock and recognition. Mummy." Ethan's small voice was barely audible, but it hit Gabriel like a physical blow. So a woman rushed forward, dropping to her knees in front of Ethan. "Oh, my baby, my sweet, sweet boy." Gabriel stood rooted to the spot, his mind reeling. This couldn't be happening. The background checks, the investigations, everything had indicated that Ethan and Noah's mother was dead. Olivia, ever the detective, was the first to recover. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to step back. We need to verify your identity and—" "Verify?" the man beside the woman spat. "That's our son you've kidnapped, our little boy." The commotion had drawn the attention of the other party guests. Whispers and confused murmurs filled the air as parents pulled their children close, sensing the tension. Gabriel finally found his voice, stepping between Ethan and the couple. "I think it's best if we take this conversation somewhere private. Olivia, could you?" Olivia nodded, understanding immediately. She gently guided Ethan back towards the party room, whispering reassurances to the visibly shaken boy. As Gabriel led the couple to his study, his mind raced. How was this possible? What did it mean for his family, for the life they'd built? The woman's eyes never left Ethan, filled with a desperate longing that made Gabriel's heart clench. Once in the study, Gabriel turned to face the couple. "I think you owe us an explanation. Who are you, and where have you been for the past year?" The woman tore her gaze from where Ethan had disappeared, fixing Gabriel with a look of anguish and determination. My name is Sarah Blackwood. That little boy is my son, and I've come to take him home." The words hung in the air, heavy with implications. Gabriel felt as though the ground was shifting beneath his feet. Everything he thought he knew, the family he had built, was suddenly on the verge of crumbling. "If you're who you say you are," Gabriel said, fighting to keep his voice steady, "then you must know that Ethan and Noah have been through a traumatic experience. That they've finally found stability in love. You can't just waltz in here and—" "Love?" the man interrupted, his voice dripping with disdain. "You stole our children. You have no right." "Robert, please." Sarah placed a hand on the man's arm, her eyes never leaving Gabriel's face. "Mr. Thornton, I understand this is a shock, but you must understand I never abandoned my children. I was taken against my will. It's taken me this long to escape, to find them." Gabriel's mind whirled with questions, with doubts, with fear, but beneath it all was a growing sense of dread. Because looking into Sarah's eyes, he saw the same fierce love and determination he felt for Ethan and Noah, and he knew with a sinking heart that the battle for his children had only just begun. As if on cue, a small voice came from the doorway. "Daddy, what's going on?" All heads turned to see Ethan standing there, his small frame dwarfed by the heavy oak door. His eyes were wide, flicking between Gabriel and the woman who claimed to be his mother. In that moment, Gabriel realized that whatever happened next would change all their lives forever. The happy family he had built, the peace they had found, was balanced on a knife's edge. And as he looked at Ethan's confused, frightened face, he made a silent vow. No matter what happened, no matter what it cost him, he would protect this child, his child, with everything he had. "It's okay, buddy," Gabriel said, forcing a smile. "Everything's going to be okay." But even as the words left his mouth, he knew that nothing would ever be the same again. The storm that had been brewing on the horizon had finally arrived, and it threatened to tear apart everything he held dear. The following weeks were a blur of legal meetings, court appearances, and sleepless nights. Gabriel found himself in a battle he never anticipated, fighting for the children he'd come to love as his own. The once quiet halls of the Thornton mansion now echoed with tense phone calls and hushed conversations. Sarah Blackwood, armed with DNA tests and a harrowing tale of kidnapping and escape, had launched a full-scale legal assault to regain custody of Ethan and Noah. Her story, filled with details of captivity and a daring escape, had captured the media's attention. Overnight, Gabriel went from being hailed as a savior to being painted as a potential kidnapper. "Mr. Thornton, how do you respond to allegations that you knew the children's mother was alive?" A reporter shouted as Gabriel rushed from the courthouse, shielding Ethan from the flashing cameras. "No comment," he growled, ushering the boy into the waiting car where Olivia sat with Noah. Once inside, Ethan's small voice broke the tense silence. "Dad, are they going to take us away?" Gabriel's heart clenched. He turned to face Ethan, taking the boy's small hands in his. "I promise you, Ethan, I will do everything in my power to keep our family together. You and Noah are my world, and nothing will change that." Olivia reached over, squeezing Gabriel's shoulder in silent support. But he could see the worry in her eyes, the same fear that kept him awake at night. At the law offices of Steinberg Associates, Gabriel paced the conference room while his lawyer, Rachel Steinberg, laid out their options. "Gabriel, I won't sugarcoat this. Sarah Blackwood has a strong case. She is the biological mother, and her story of abduction is compelling. The fact that you had no knowledge of her existence when you took in the children works in our favor, but..." "But what?" Gabriel demanded, his patience wearing thin. Rachel sighed. "But the court tends to favor biological parents in these cases. We need to prove that uprooting the children from their current environment would be detrimental to their well-being." Gabriel ran a hand through his hair, frustration evident in every line of his body. They'd been through enough trauma. Ethan's just starting to open up, to trust. And Noah, he's so young. This stability is everything to them. "I understand, Gabriel, and we'll fight with everything we've got. But you need to be prepared for the possibility that..." "No," Gabriel cut her off, his voice steel. "I won't even consider losing them. They're my children, Rachel. Mine." As he spoke the words, Gabriel realized how far he'd come from the man he used to be. The thought of losing Ethan and Noah was more terrifying than any business deal gone wrong, any financial loss he'd ever faced. Meanwhile, across town, Olivia found herself in an impossible position. As a detective, she was bound by duty to investigate Sarah's claims thoroughly. But as a woman who had come to love Ethan and Noah as her own, every new piece of evidence supporting Sarah's story felt like a knife to the heart. Detective Reeves, we've corroborated parts of Mrs. Blackwood's story, her partner, Detective Johnson, reported. In the location where she claimed she was held matches an abandoned property owned by a known associate of Dominic Blackwood. Olivia nodded, her face a mask of professionalism even as her insides churned, and the timeline. Consistent with her story, there are hospital records from the date she says she escaped, treating her for injuries consistent with long-term captivity. Each word felt like another nail in the coffin of the life she'd built with Gabriel and the boys. Olivia closed her eyes, taking a deep breath. When she opened them, her gaze fell on the framed photo on her desk, a candid shot of her, Gabriel and Noah at the park, all smiles and laughter. "What do we do now, Liv?" Johnson asked, his voice softening as he noticed her distress. Olivia straightened, pushing her personal feelings aside with Herculean effort. "We follow the evidence wherever it leads. That's our job." But as she turned back to the case files, Olivia couldn't help but feel she was betraying her family with every fact she verified, every piece of Sarah's story she corroborated. As the legal battle intensified, its effects rippled through every aspect of the Thornton family's life. Ethan, once vibrant and increasingly outgoing, became withdrawn. His nightmares, which had all but disappeared, returned with a vengeance. Noah, too young to understand the complexities of the situation, nonetheless picked up on the tension, becoming fussy and clingy. One night, as Gabriel tucked Ethan into bed, the boy's trembling voice broke his heart. "Dad, do I have to go with her? I don't want to leave you and Olivia and Noah." Gabriel sat on the edge of the bed, gathering Ethan into his arms. "Oh, buddy, I wish I could promise you that everything will stay the same. But what I can promise is that no matter what happens, no matter where you are, I will always, always love you. You and Noah are my sons in every way that matters." As Ethan clung to him, tears soaking into Gabriel's shirt, he felt a fierce determination rise within him. He would move heaven and earth to keep his family together. The Gabriel Thornton of old, the cutthroat businessman who let nothing stand in his way, resurfaced. But this time, that relentless drive was fueled not by greed or ambition, but by love. Little did Gabriel know that as he comforted Ethan, forces were aligning against him that would test his resolve, his relationships, and his very conception of family in ways he could never have imagined. The battle for Ethan and Noah was about to take a dark and dangerous turn, one that would expose long-buried secrets and force everyone involved to confront painful truths about themselves and those they loved. As Gabriel finally left Ethan's room, closing the door softly behind him, he was unaware of the storm gathering on the horizon, a storm that would shake the foundations of everything he had built and force him to confront not only the ghosts of his past, but the very nature of what it means to be a father, a protector, and a man. As the legal battle for Ethan and Noah intensified, Gabriel found himself delving deeper into Sarah Blackwood's past, desperate for any information that might help him keep his family together. It was during one late night, poring over documents in his study, that he stumbled upon a revelation that would change everything. A file, buried deep in the records of Thornton Enterprises, contained information about a project Gabriel had overseen years ago, a project that he now realized with growing horror had directly impacted the Blackwood family. His hands trembling, Gabriel read through the details of a business deal that had seemed inconsequential at the time. Thornton Enterprises had acquired a small tech company, dismantling it for its patents and laying off all its employees. One of those employees had been Dominic Blackwood. The implications hit Gabriel like a physical blow. His actions, his relentless pursuit of profit, had set in motion the chain of events that led to the Blackwoods' downfall. Dominic's descent into criminality, the danger that had forced Sarah to flee with her children, it could all be traced back to that one ruthless business decision. As the full weight of his indirect responsibility settled on his shoulders, Gabriel felt a wave of nausea wash over him. He had prided himself on his business acumen, on his ability to make tough decisions without emotion. But now, looking at a photo of Ethan and Noah on his desk, he realized the true cost of that coldness. The next morning, Gabriel walked into the kitchen, the lack of sleep evident in the dark circles under his eyes. Olivia, already up and preparing breakfast for the boys, took one look at him and knew something was wrong. "Gabriel, what is it?" she asked, her voice laced with concern. He sank into a chair, running a hand through his disheveled hair. "I found something, Olivia. Something about my connection to the Blackwoods. It's not good." As he recounted his discovery, Olivia's expression shifted from concern to shock and finally to a grim understanding. "Oh, Gabriel," she whispered, reaching out to take his hand. "I did this," Gabriel said, his voice breaking. "Everything that's happened to Ethan and Noah, to Sarah, it all stems from my actions. I destroyed their family long before I even knew they existed." Olivia squeezed his hand, her detective's mind already racing ahead. "This complicates things legally. But if it comes out in court—" "I know," Gabrielle interrupted. "It could destroy our case. But Olivia, how can I keep fighting for them when I'm the reason they were in danger in the first place?" Before Olivia could respond, the patter of small feet announced Ethan's arrival. The boy stopped in the doorway, his intuitive nature picking up on the tension in the room. "Dad? Olivia? What's wrong?" Gabriel forced a smile, opening his arms to Ethan. As the boy climbed into his lap, Gabriel held him close, breathing in the scent of his hair. How could he explain to this child, who had already been through so much, that the man he called Dad was partly responsible for the trauma he had endured? "Nothing's wrong, buddy," Gabriel lied, hating himself for it. "We were just talking about grown-up stuff. How about some breakfast?" As they went through the motions of a normal morning routine, Gabriel's mind was in turmoil. The revelation of his connection to the Blackwoods tragedy had shaken him to his core, forcing him to confront the man he used to be and the consequences of his actions. Later that day, in a private meeting with his lawyer, Rachel Steinberg, Gabriel laid out what he had discovered. Rachel's face grew increasingly grave as he spoke. "Gabriel, this is problematic to say the least," she said when he had finished. "If Sarah's lawyers get wind of this, they could argue that your guilt is the only reason you took in the children. It could completely undermine our case for custody." Gabriel nodded, the weight of the situation pressing down on him. "I know, but Rachel, I can't in good conscience keep this information to myself. Not when it directly impacts the well-being of Ethan and Noah." Rachel leaned back in her chair, studying him intently. The Gabriel Thornton I first met would never have considered revealing information that could jeopardize his position. "You've changed." "They changed me," Gabriel said simply, thinking of the two boys who had turned his world upside down. "Ethan and Noah, they made me want to be a better man. And now I have to live up to that no matter the cost." As they discussed the potential ramifications of revealing this information, Gabriel felt a strange mix of dread and relief. The truth, as painful as it was finally coming to light. Meanwhile, across town, Sarah Blackwood was having a heated discussion with her own lawyer. The strain of the custody battle was evident in the lines of her face, in the tremor of her hands as she clutched a cup of coffee. "I don't understand," she said, frustration clear in her voice. "Why is this taking so long? They're my children. I'm their mother. How can there be any question about where they belong?" Her lawyer, a sharp-eyed woman named Vanessa Clark, sighed. "Sarah, I know this is difficult, but we have to approach this carefully. Mr. Thornton has provided a stable home for the children for over a year now. The court takes that into consideration." Sarah slammed her cup down, coffee sloshing over the sides. A stable home, he's the reason they were in danger in the first place. And if it wasn't for his ruthless business practices, Dominic would never have. She broke off, tears welling in her eyes. Vanessa leaned forward, her voice softening. Sarah, I know you've been through unimaginable trauma, but we need to focus on the future, on what's best for Ethan and Noah now. Sarah took a shaky breath, nodding. You're right. I'm sorry. It's just, every day that passes is another day I'm not with my children. Another day they're calling that man Dad. As Sarah composed herself, Vanessa's phone buzzed with an incoming message. She glanced at it, her eyebrows rising in surprise. Well, this is interesting. It seems Mr. Thornton has some new information he wants to disclose. Something about his past connection to your family. Sarah's head snapped up, her eyes narrowing. What kind of connection? As Vanessa relayed the bare bones of what Gabriel had revealed, Sarah felt a mix of vindication and renewed anger. Finally, the truth about Gabriel Thornton's role in her family's destruction was coming to light. But as she listened, a small part of her couldn't help but wonder what kind of man voluntarily discloses information that could harm his own case. The Gabriel Thornton she had imagined, the cold-hearted businessman who had indirectly caused her so much pain, didn't align with this action. For the first time since the custody battle began, Sarah felt a flicker of doubt. Could she have misjudged the man who had taken in her children? And if so, what did that mean for the future she had envisioned, reunited with Ethan and Noah? As both Gabriel and Sarah grappled with these new developments, neither was aware of the deeper, darker currents swirling beneath the surface of their custody battle. Forces set in motion years ago were converging, bringing with them secrets that would shake both families to their core and test the very meaning of love, forgiveness, and what it truly means to be a parent. The stage was set for a confrontation that would change all their lives forever, forcing each of them to confront painful truths about their past and make impossible choices about their future. And at the center of it all were two innocent children, unaware of the storm raging around them, longing only for the love and stability that had been denied them for so long. As the custody battle intensified, its effects rippled through the Thornton household, manifesting most visibly in Ethan's behavior. The once vibrant and increasingly outgoing boy retreated into himself, his smiles becoming rare and his nightmares frequent. Gabriel and Olivia watched helplessly as the child they loved struggled to cope with the uncertainty surrounding his future. In one particularly difficult evening, Gabriel found Ethan huddled in a corner of his room, clutching a worn, stuffed animal. The boy's eyes were red-rimmed from crying, and he flinched when Gabriel approached. "Hey buddy," Gabriel said softly, crouching down to Ethan's level. "Want to talk about it?" Ethan shook his head, burying his face in the stuffed toy. Gabriel's heart ached at the sight. He slowly sat down next to Ethan, careful not to touch him, respecting the boy's need for space. "You know," Gabriel began, keeping his voice gentle, "when I was a little boy, I used to have a stuffed elephant named Trunky. And whenever I was scared or sad, I'd hold Trunky tight, just like you're doing now." And Ethan peeked out from behind his toy, curiosity momentarily overcoming his distress. "You did?" Gabriel nodded, smiling softly. "I did. And you know what? It's okay to be scared sometimes. It's okay to be sad or angry too. What you're going through, it's a lot for anyone, especially someone as brave as you." Slowly, Ethan uncurled from his tight ball, leaning slightly towards Gabriel. "I don't feel brave," he whispered. "But you are," Gabriel assured him. "You're one of the bravest people I know, and it's okay to have big feelings about all of this." And Ethan was quiet for a moment, his small fingers tracing patterns on his stuffed animal. Then, in a voice so low Gabriel had to strain to hear, he asked, "If I have to go with her, will you stop loving me?" The question hit Gabriel like a physical blow. He fought back tears as he gently pulled Ethan into his arms. "Never," he said fiercely. "Ethan, listen to me. No matter what happens, no matter where you are, I will always, always love you. You're my son in here." He tapped his chest, right over his heart, and nothing can ever change that. Ethan clung to Gabriel, his small body shaking with sobs. Gabriel held him close, murmuring reassurances and letting his own tears fall silently. They sat like that for a long time, a father and son united in their fear and love. Meanwhile, in another part of the house, Olivia was dealing with her own challenges. Noah, too young to understand the complexities of the situation, was nonetheless affected by the tension permeating the household. The toddler had become clingy and fussy, his usual happy babbling replaced by frequent crying spells. As Olivia attempted to soothe the wailing Noah, she couldn't help but reflect on how quickly and completely these children had captured her heart. She had always been career-focused, never imagining herself as a mother, but now the thought of losing Ethan and Noah was unbearable. "Shh! It's okay, sweetheart," she murmured, bouncing Noah gently. "Everything's going to be all right." So even as she spoke the words, Olivia felt a pang of doubt. As a detective, she was trained to look at facts objectively, and the facts of their case, especially with Gabriel's recent revelation about his past connection to the Blackwoods, were not in their favor. Later that night, after both children were finally asleep, Gabriel and Olivia sat in the kitchen, the weight of their situation heavy between them. "How's Ethan?" Olivia asked, her voice laced with concern. Gabriel sighed, running a hand through his hair. "He's scared, confused. He asked me if I'd stop loving him if he had to go with Sarah." Olivia reached across the table, taking Gabriel's hand in hers. "Oh, Gabriel, what did you tell him?" "The truth," Gabriel replied, his voice thick with emotion. "That I'll love him no matter what. That he'll always be my son." He paused, his grip on Olivia's hand tightening. "But Olivia, the thought of losing them, I don't know if I can bear it." Olivia nodded, her own eyes filling with tears. "I know. I feel the same way. These boys, they've become our whole world." They sat in silence for a moment, each lost in their own thoughts. Finally, Olivia spoke, her detective's mind pushing through the emotional fog. "Gabriel, we need to consider all possibilities. If the court rules in Sarah's favor, we need to have a plan, for the boys' sake." Gabriel's jaw clenched, a flash of the old, determined businessman showing through. "I won't give up without a fight, Olivia. I can't." "I'm not saying we should give up," Olivia clarified, "but we need to be prepared. If Ethan and Noah do have to go with Sarah, we need to ensure a smooth transition. We need to put their well-being first, even if it breaks our hearts." Gabriel nodded slowly, the truth of Olivia's words sinking in. It was one of the things he loved most about her, her ability to think clearly even in the most emotional situations. "You're right," he admitted. "As much as I want to keep them with us, we have to consider what's best for Ethan and Noah. But Olivia, how do we determine what that is? How do we know if uprooting them from the only stable home they've known is truly in their best interest?" Olivia squeezed his hand, her eyes meeting his with a mixture of love and determination. "We keep fighting, Gabriel. We present our case, we show the court how much the boys have thrived with us. But we also stay open to the possibility that Sarah might be what they need. It won't be easy, but we owe it to Ethan and Noah to put their needs above our own desires." As they continued to discuss their options, formulating plans for every possible outcome, neither Gabriel nor Olivia was aware of the deeper currents moving beneath the surface of their custody battle. Forces set in motion years ago were converging, bringing with them secrets that would shake both families to their core. In a small apartment across town, Sarah Blackwood sat at her kitchen table, staring at a stack of documents. Her hand shook slightly as she read through the information her lawyer had provided about Gabriel Thornton's connection to her family's past. The revelation of Gabriel's indirect role in her family's downfall had initially fueled her anger and determination to reclaim her children. But as she delved deeper into the documents, a more complex picture emerged. Reports of Gabriel's transformation since taking in Ethan and Noah, accounts of the stable and loving home he had provided, and most surprisingly, his voluntary disclosure of information that could harm his own case. For the first time since the custody battle began, Sarah felt a flicker of doubt. The Gabriel Thornton described in these reports was not the cold-hearted businessman she had imagined. Could she have misjudged the man who had taken in her children? As Sarah grappled with these conflicting emotions, she was unaware that her own past held secrets yet to be revealed. Secrets that would soon come to light, forcing everyone involved to confront painful truths and make impossible choices. The custody battle for Ethan and Noah was about to take an unexpected turn, one that would test the limits of love, forgiveness, and the true meaning of family. And at the center of it all were two innocent children, unaware of the storm raging around them, longing only for the love and stability that had been denied them for so long. As the custody battle raged on, a sinister undercurrent began to emerge, casting a dark shadow over the proceedings. Gabriel, driven by a mix of parental love and investigative instinct, found himself delving deeper into the circumstances surrounding Dominic Blackwood's demise and Sarah's mysterious reappearance. Late one night, as Gabriel pored over documents in his study, a knock at the door startled him. Olivia entered, her face etched with concern. "Gabriel, we need to talk," she said, her voice low and urgent. "I've uncovered something about Sarah's story that doesn't add up." Gabriel leaned forward, his fatigue forgotten. "What is it?" Olivia spread out a series of reports on his desk. "I've been re-examining the evidence from Sarah's alleged captivity. There are inconsistencies in her timeline, discrepancies in her medical records. And then there's this." She pointed to a grainy surveillance photo. Gabriel squinted, trying to make out the image. "Is that Sarah?" Olivia nodded grimly. "Taken 6 months ago, in a city hundreds of miles from where she claimed to be held captive. Gabriel, I think there's more to her story than she's letting on." As they pored over the evidence, a chilling possibility began to take shape. What if Sarah's reappearance wasn't as straightforward as it seemed? What if there were darker forces at play? Meanwhile, across town, Sarah Blackwood sat in a dimly lit room, her hands shaking as she dialed a number she had hoped never to use again. "It's me," she whispered into the phone. "We have a problem. Thornton is digging too deep. He might uncover the truth about Dominic." The voice on the other end was cold, calculating. "Then we'll have to accelerate our plans. Remember, Sarah, what's at stake here? If Thornton learns the truth, you'll lose everything, including those children." Sarah closed her eyes, fighting back tears. "I know. I'll do whatever it takes. Just promise me Ethan and Noah won't be harmed." "That depends entirely on you," the voice replied before the line went dead. As Sarah sat in the darkness, the weight of her secrets pressing down on her, she couldn't help but wonder how it had all come to this. The lies, the deception, the desperate bid to reclaim her children, it was all spiraling out of control. Back at the Thornton mansion, Gabriel and Olivia worked late in the night, piecing together the puzzle of Sarah's past. As the sun began to rise, casting a pale light through the study windows, they sat back, stunned by what they had uncovered. "If this is true," Gabriel said, his voice hoarse from hours of discussion, "then Sarah isn't just fighting for custody. She's running from something, or someone." Olivia nodded, her detective's mind racing. "The question is, who? And how does this connect to Dominic Blackwood's death?" Before Gabriel could respond, a cry echoed through the baby monitor. Noah was awake. As Gabriel moved to stand, Olivia placed a hand on his arm. "You'll go," she said softly. "You need to rest. We've got a long day ahead of us." As Olivia left to tend to Noah, Gabriel leaned back in his chair, his mind whirling with the implications of their discovery. He had entered this custody battle believing it was simply about a mother wanting to reclaim her children. Now he realized they had stumbled onto something far more complex and potentially dangerous. The next day, as Gabriel prepared for another court appearance, he couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something crucial. The pieces were there, but they weren't fitting together quite right. Going the courthouse hallway, he caught sight of Sarah, huddled with her lawyer. For a moment, their eyes met, and Gabriel was struck by the fear he saw in her gaze. It wasn't just the fear of losing her children, it was something deeper, more primal. As the proceedings began, Gabriel found his attention divided between the legal arguments and his own swirling thoughts. What was Sarah truly afraid of, and how far would she go to keep her secrets? The judge's voice cut through his musings. "Mr. Thornton, given the new evidence presented by Mrs. Blackwood's team, are you prepared to respond to the allegations regarding your past business dealings with Dominic Blackwood?" Gabriel stood, straightening his tie. "Yes, Your Honor. I am prepared to address those allegations and provide context for my actions." As he began to speak, laying out the complex web of business decisions that had led to his indirect involvement in the Blackwood family's downfall, Gabriel couldn't help but notice Sarah's reaction. She seemed almost relieved, as if his confession was somehow playing into her hands. It was then that Gabriel realized the true nature of the game they were playing. This wasn't just about custody anymore. It was about uncovering the truth, a truth that could potentially put all of them, especially Ethan and Noah, in danger. As the court session ended for the day, Gabriel pulled Olivia aside. "We need to dig deeper," he whispered urgently. "There's something bigger going on here, something that goes beyond Sarah and Dominic. I think the children might be in real danger." Olivia nodded, her face set with determination. "I'll call in some favors, see if we can get access to sealed records from Dominic's past. Whatever's going on, we'll figure it out, together." As they left the courthouse, neither Gabriel nor Olivia noticed the dark sedan parked across the street, its tinted windows concealing the watchful eyes within. The stakes in this game had just been raised, and the true battle was only beginning. That night, as Gabriel tucked Ethan into bed, the boy's small voice broke the silence. "Dad? Are the bad men coming back?" Gabriel froze, his heart racing. "What bad men, Ethan? What do you mean?" Ethan's eyes were wide with fear. The ones Mom was always scared of. The ones she said we were running from. In that moment, Gabriel realized that the key to unraveling this mystery might lie with the very children he was fighting to protect. As he held Ethan close, soothing his fears, Gabriel's mind was already formulating a new plan. They needed to uncover the truth, not just for the sake of the custody battle, but for the safety of Ethan and Noah. Whatever secrets Sarah was hiding, whatever danger lurked in the shadows of the Blackwood family's past, Gabriel was determined to bring it to light. As he left Ethan's room, gently closing the door behind him, Gabriel's resolve hardened. He would protect his family, no matter the cost. The battle for Ethan and Noah had taken a dark turn, but Gabriel Thornton was ready to fight, not just in the courtroom, but against whatever hidden threats lurked in the shadows. Little did he know, the true test of his love and determination was yet to come. Gabriel and Olivia's investigation into Sarah Blackwood's past and the mysterious circumstances surrounding Dominic's death intensified over the following days. They worked tirelessly, leveraging Olivia's law enforcement connections and Gabriel's business network to piece together the puzzle. Late one night, as they sat surrounded by stacks of documents and computer printouts, Olivia's phone buzzed with an incoming message. Her eyes widened as she read it. "Gabriel, we've got something," she said, her voice tight with excitement and apprehension. "My contact at the FBI just sent over some sealed files. You're not going to believe this." Gabriel leaned in, his heart racing as Olivia pulled up the files on her laptop. What they saw left them both stunned. The documents revealed a complex web of criminal activities tied to Dominic Blackwood, but with tendrils reaching far beyond what they had imagined. Shell companies, offshore accounts, and most disturbingly, connections to a powerful crime syndicate that had long eluded law enforcement. "This is bigger than we thought," Gabriel muttered, running a hand through his hair. "But how does Sarah fit into all this?" As if in answer to his question, Olivia pulled up another file. It was a police report dated just weeks before Sarah's alleged kidnapping. The report detailed a violent altercation between Dominic and an unnamed associate, with Sarah listed as a witness. "Look at this," Olivia pointed to a section of the report. "Sarah's statement here contradicts what she told us about her relationship with Dominic. She claimed they were happily married, but this suggests she was trying to leave him." Gabriel's mind raced, connecting the dots. What if Sarah wasn't kidnapped at all? But what if she ran, taking the Chengda to protect them from Dominic's criminal connections? Olivia nodded slowly, her detective instincts kicking into high gear. It would explain the inconsistencies in her story. But if that's true, why come back now? And why lie about it? Their conversation was interrupted by a soft knock at the door. They turned to see Ethan standing there, clutching his stuffed animal, his eyes wide with fear. "Dad? Olivia? I had a bad dream," he whispered. Gabriel immediately went to him, scooping the boy into his arms. "It's okay, buddy. You're safe now. Do you want to talk about it?" But Ethan buried his face in Gabriel's shoulder, his small body trembling. "I dreamed about the bad men again, the ones Mom was scared of." Gabriel and Olivia exchanged a significant look over Ethan's head. This wasn't the first time Ethan had mentioned bad men in connection with his past. "Well, Ethan," Olivia said gently, crouching down to the boy's eye level. "Can you tell us more about these bad men? It's okay if you don't want to, but it might help us understand what's going on." Ethan looked between them, fear and uncertainty battling in his young eyes. Finally, in a small voice, he began to speak. They were Mom's friends, but she didn't like them. They made her do things she didn't want to do. That's why we had to run away. As Ethan continued, painting a picture of a life on the run, constantly looking over their shoulders, Gabriel felt a mix of heartbreak for what the children had endured and a growing sense of urgency. Whatever Sarah was involved in, it was clear that Ethan and Noah were in more danger than they had realized. Once they had calmed Ethan and put him back to bed, Gabriel and Olivia reconvened in the study, their faces grim. "We need to confront Sarah," Gabriel said, his voice low and determined. "Whatever she's mixed up in, we need to know the full story if we're going to protect the children." Olivia nodded, but her expression was cautious. "We need to be careful, Gabriel. If Sarah is involved with the same crime syndicate that Dominic was, confronting her directly could be dangerous. Not just for us, but for Ethan and Noah too." Gabriel paced the room, his mind working furiously. "Then what do? We can't just sit back and wait for something to happen." After a moment of tense silence, Olivia spoke up. "I have an idea, but you're not going to like it. We need to bring in someone who has experience dealing with these kinds of criminal organizations. Someone who can help us navigate this safely." Gabriel's eyes narrowed. "Who did you have in mind?" Olivia took a deep breath. "Judge Winters." Gabriel's eyebrows shot up in surprise. "Winters? But he's retired, and after everything that happened with the corruption case." "Exactly," Olivia interrupted. "He has the experience, the connections, and most importantly, he owes us. After we helped clear his name in the corruption scandal, he said if we ever needed anything." Gabriel considered this for a moment, weighing the risks against the potential benefits. Finally, he nodded. "All right, reach out to him. But Olivia, we keep this tight. No one else can know what we're doing. The stakes are too high." As Olivia made the call to Judge Winters, Gabriel stood by the window, looking out at the peaceful night. Somewhere out there, Sarah Blackwood was keeping secrets that could tear his family apart. And lurking in the shadows were forces that threatened not just the custody of Ethan and Noah, but their very lives. The next morning, as Gabriel prepared for another day in court, he couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the precipice of something big. The custody battle that had consumed their lives for weeks now seemed like just the tip of a very dangerous iceberg. As he straightened his tie and took one last look in the mirror, Gabriel made a silent vow. No matter what secrets came to light, no matter what dangers they faced, he would protect Ethan and Noah. They were his children in every way that mattered, and he would move heaven and earth to keep them safe. Little did Gabriel know that the true test of his resolve was just around the corner. The web of lies and danger surrounding the Blackwood family was about to ensnare them all, forcing Gabriel to confront not just Sarah and her secrets, but his own past and the lengths he was willing to go to for the sake of his family. As he left the house, kissing Ethan and no goodbye, and sharing a meaningful look with Olivia, Gabriel steeled himself for the battles ahead. Whatever came next, he was ready to face it head-on. For his family, for his children, he would do whatever it took. The game had changed, the stakes higher than ever before. But Gabriel Thornton was no stranger to high-stakes battles. This time, however, it wasn't just his fortune or his reputation on the line. It was the lives and futures of two innocent children who had become his whole world. The Thornton mansion, once a haven of newfound family joy, now crackled with an undercurrent of tension. As Gabriel and Olivia delved deeper into the mystery surrounding Sarah Blackwood and the dangers lurking in the shadows, the strain began to show in every aspect of their daily lives. Ethan, always perceptive beyond his years, withdrew further into himself. His nightmares, which had begun to subside, returned with a vengeance. More than once, Gabriel found himself rushing to the boy's room in the middle of the night, holding Ethan close as he sobbed about the bad men and whispered fears of being taken away. One particularly difficult morning, as Gabriel attempted to coax Ethan to eat his breakfast, the boy suddenly burst into tears. "I don't want to go to school," Ethan cried, pushing his plate away. "What if they come for me? What if you're not there?" Gabriel's heart clenched. He knelt beside Ethan's chair, gently turning the boy to face him. "Ethan, listen to me. No one is going to take you away. I promise you, you're safe here with us." Ethan's lower lip trembled. "But what about Mom? Is she coming back? Does she not want us anymore?" The question hung in the air, heavy with the weight of a child's fear and confusion. Gabriel struggled to find the right words, acutely aware of the delicate balance between honesty and protection. "Your mom, she loves you very much, Ethan, but sometimes grown-up things are complicated. Right now, the most important thing is that you and Noah are safe and loved. Can you trust me on that?" Ethan nodded slowly, but the worry didn't leave his eyes. As Gabriel pulled him into a hug, he caught Olivia's gaze across the room. The concern and love he saw there mirrored his own feelings. Noah, too young to understand the complexities of the situation, nonetheless picked up on the tension in the household. The usually cheerful toddler became clingy and fussy, his happy babbles giving way to frequent crying spells. One afternoon, as Olivia attempted to soothe the wailing Noah, her frustration finally boiled over. "I can't do this anymore, Gabriel," she exclaimed, her voice tight with stress. "We're tearing these children apart with all this uncertainty." Gabriel, who had been on the phone with their lawyer, quickly ended the call. He crossed the room, gently taking Noah from Olivia's arms. "I know, love. I know it's hard, but we're doing the best we can." Olivia ran a hand through her hair, her eyes bright with unshed tears. "Are we? Sometimes I wonder if we're just being selfish. Maybe Sarah is what these boys really need." The words hung between them, giving voice to the fear that had been gnawing at both their hearts. Gabriel felt a flash of anger, quickly suppressed. He knew Olivia was just voicing the doubts they both harbored. "Olivia, look at me," he said, shifting Noah to one arm so he could reach out to her. "We are these boys' family. We've given them stability, love, a home. Whatever Sarah's reasons for coming back, we can't just hand them over without being sure it's what's best for them." Olivia nodded, leaning into his touch. "I know. I'm sorry, I feel like we're fighting a battle we can't win. And the boys are caught in the middle." As if to emphasize her point, Ethan's voice called out from the next room, small and frightened. "Dad? Olivia? Where are you?" They exchanged a look of shared concern before Gabriel called back, "We're here, buddy. Come on in." But Ethan appeared in the doorway, his stuffed animal clutched tightly to his chest. His eyes darted between Gabriel and Olivia, sensing the tension. "Are you fighting?" he asked in a small voice. "No, sweetheart," Olivia said quickly, moving to kneel in front of him. "We're just talking about grown-up things. Everything's okay." But Ethan wasn't so easily convinced. His lower lip trembled as he asked, "Is it because of me and Noah? Are we making things hard for you?" The innocence and guilt in his question broke their hearts. Gabriel quickly joined Olivia, Noah still in his arms, creating a family huddled around Ethan. "Ethan, listen to me," Gabriel said firmly. "None of this is your fault or Noah's. We love you both so much. You're the best thing that's ever happened to us." Olivia nodded, brushing away a tear. "That's right, we're a family, and families stick together no matter what." As they held each other close, Gabriel and Olivia shared a look over the children's heads. In that moment, they silently reaffirmed their commitment to each other, to Ethan and Noah, and to fighting whatever battles lay ahead. Later that night, after the children were finally asleep, Gabriel and Olivia sat in the kitchen, mugs of tea growing cold between them. "We need to end this," Gabriel said, breaking the silence. "For the boys' sake. This limbo we're in, it's not fair to them." Olivia nodded, her detective's mind already working. "We need to confront Sarah, get the full story, once and for all." Gabriel's jaw tightened, and if she's really mixed up in something dangerous, if bringing this all to light puts the boys at risk. "Then we'll face it," Olivia said firmly. "Together. Whatever's going on, Gabriel, we can't keep living like this. Ethan and Noah deserve better." As they discussed their next steps, formulating plans and contingencies, neither Gabriel nor Olivia was aware of the forces already in motion. Across town, in a dimly lit room, Sarah Blackwood sat before a group of shadowy figures, her face pale but determined. "It's time," one of the figures said, his voice cold and authoritative. "Bring us what we want, or your children will pay the price." Sarah's hands trembled, but her voice was steady as she replied, "I understand. I'll do whatever it takes." As the night deepened, the pieces of a complex and dangerous puzzle began to fall into place. The battle for Ethan and Noah was about to reach its climax, and the true test of love, loyalty, and family was yet to come. In the Thornton mansion, Gabriel and Olivia finally retired to Bite, their minds heavy with worry, but their hearts united in purpose. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them as a family. For Ethan and Noah, they would move heaven and earth. Little did they know, the storm that had been brewing on the horizon was about to break, bringing with it revelations that would shake their world to its very foundation. The day of reckoning arrived with a deceptive calm. Gabriel woke early, his mind already racing with the confrontation ahead. As he made his way downstairs, he found Olivia in the kitchen, nursing a cup of coffee, her face etched with determination. "Are you ready for this?" she asked, her voice low to avoid waking the children. Gabriel nodded, pouring himself a cup. "As ready as I'll ever be. Judge Winters confirmed he'll meet us at the cafe?" "Yes, he'll be there." "Gabriel, are you sure about this? Once we confront Sarah, there's no going back." Gabriel's jaw tightened. "We don't have a choice, Olivia. For Ethan and Noah's sake, we need to know the truth." As they prepared to leave, Gabriel paused by the children's rooms. Ethan was still asleep, his face peaceful for once. Noah gurgled happily in his crib, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing around him. Gabriel felt a surge of protectiveness so strong it almost overwhelmed him. "I'll keep you safe," he whispered, "no matter what." The cafe was bustling with morning patrons when Gabriel and Olivia arrived. They spotted Judge Winters in a corner booth, his face grave as they approached. "Gabriel, Olivia," he greeted them. "I hope you understand the gravity of what you're about to do." Gabriel slid into the booth. "We do, Your Honor, but we need answers, and Sarah's the key to all of this." As they discussed their strategy, none of them noticed the woman who entered the cafe, her eyes scanning the crowd before landing on their table. Sarah Blackwood took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. "Hello, Gabriel," she said, her voice cutting through their conversation. All three heads snapped up. Gabriel's eyes narrowed. "Sarah, I'm glad you came." Sarah slid into the booth, her posture tense. "You said it was about the children. What's going on?" Gabriel leaned forward, his voice low and intense. "We know, Sarah. About Dominic, about the criminal connections. What we don't know is why you've really come back. What are you running from?" Sarah's face paled, her eyes darting to the exits. You don't understand. It's not safe to talk about this here. Olivia's detective instincts kicked in. Sarah, we can protect you and the children, but you need to tell us the truth. For a moment it seemed Sarah might bolt. Then, with a shuddering breath, she began to speak. The story that unfolded was one of fear, desperation, and a mother's love pushed to its limits. Dominic, it turned out, had been deeply involved with a powerful crime syndicate. When Sarah discovered the extent of his criminal activities, she had tried to leave with the children, but the syndicate had other plans. They threatened Ethan and Noah, Sarah said, her voice breaking, said they'd hurt him if I didn't cooperate. So I ran. I took the boys and disappeared. Gabriel's mind raced, piecing together the puzzle. But why come back now? Why risk everything? Sarah's eyes filled with tears. Because they found me. They said if I didn't return, if I didn't retrieve something Dominic had hidden, they'd kill the children. The gravity of the situation settled over the table. Judge Winters leaned in, his voice low. Sarah, we can help you, but we need to know everything. What is it they want you to retrieve? Before Sarah could answer, the cafe's door burst open. 3 men in dark suits entered, their eyes scanning the room before locking onto their table. Sarah's face drained of color. We need to leave. Now, she whispered urgently. Gabriel's protective instincts kicked into overdrive. He stood, placing himself between Sarah and the approaching men. Olivia, get Sarah out of here. I'll hold them off. What happened next was a blur of action. As Olivia ushered Sarah towards the back exit, Gabriel found himself face to face with the men. He could see the outline of weapons beneath their jackets. Mr. Thornton, the leader said, his voice cold. I believe you have something that belongs to us. Gabriel's mind raced. What could they possibly think he had? Then it hit him, Ethan and Noah. They must believe Sarah had already retrieved whatever it was they were after. I don't know what you're talking about, Gabriel said, fighting to keep his voice steady. But I suggest you leave, now. The man's eyes narrowed. I don't think you understand the situation, Mr. Thornton. We're not leaving without what we came for. And if you don't cooperate, well, accidents happen. Even to children. The threat, so casually delivered, sent a chill down Gabriel's spine. In that moment, he realized the true extent of the danger they were facing. This wasn't just about custody anymore. It was about life and death. As the standoff in the cafe intensified, Olivia and Sarah made their way through the back alleys. Sarah's face was a mask of fear and determination. We need to get to the children, she said urgently. If they know I'm here, they might go after Ethan and Noah. Olivia's heart raced. She pulled out her phone, quickly dialing the secure line they'd set up at the mansion. Mrs. Winters, it's Olivia. Initiate Protocol Alpha. Get the children to the safe room immediately. As they rushed towards Olivia's car, the sound of squealing tires filled the air. A black SUV rounded the corner, bearing down on them. Run, Olivia shouted, pushing Sarah ahead of her. Back in the cafe, Gabriel found himself in a dangerous dance with the men. He knew he needed to buy time to keep them distracted while Olivia got Sarah to safety. Whatever you think is going on, Gabriel said, his voice steady despite his pounding heart, you're mistaken. I'm just a businessman trying to adopt 2 children who need a home. The leader's laugh was cold and humorless. A businessman. Oh, Mr. Thornton, you've stepped into a world far beyond your understanding. But don't worry, you'll learn, one way or another. As the tension in the cafe reached a breaking point, Gabriel's mind raced. He thought of Ethan and Noah, of the family he'd built with Olivia. He thought of Sarah, running for her life to protect her children. And in that moment, Gabriel Thornton made a decision that would change everything. All right, he said, his voice low and determined. Let's talk, but not here, somewhere private. The leader's eyes narrowed, assessing Gabriel's sincerity. Finally, he nodded. Very well, Mr. Thornton. Lead the way. But remember, one wrong move and those children you're so fond of, they'll pay the price. As Gabriel was escorted out of the cafe, he caught Judge Winter's eye. The older man gave an almost imperceptible nod, understanding passing between them. Whatever happened next, they were all in this together. The battle for Ethan and Noah had taken a dangerous turn. As Gabriel stepped into the unknown, he silently vowed to do whatever it took to protect his family. The man who had once cared only for wealth and power was gone. In his place stood a father ready to face the darkness to keep his children safe. Little did Gabriel know, the true test of his love and determination was yet to come. The black SUV sped through the city streets, its tinted windows concealing the tense occupants within. Gabriel sat rigidly between two of the suited men, his mind racing as he tried to formulate a plan. The leader, who had introduced himself only as Mr. Kane, sat in the front passenger seat, his cold eyes occasionally meeting Gabriel's in the rearview mirror. "Where are we going?" Gabriel asked, fighting to keep his voice steady. Kane's lips curled into a humorless smile. "Somewhere we can have a proper conversation, Mr. Thornton. You've become quite the inconvenience in our little operation." As the city gave way to industrial outskirts, Gabriel's anxiety grew. He thought of Olivia and Sarah, hoping they had made it to safety. Most of all, he thought of Ethan and Noah, praying that Mrs. Winters had gotten them to the safe room in time. Meanwhile, across town, Olivia and Sarah were engaged in their own high-stakes chase. The black SUV that had been pursuing them was still on their tail, weaving dangerously through traffic. "And we can't lead them back to the children," Olivia said through gritted teeth, making a sharp turn down a side street. Sarah clutched the dashboard, her face pale with fear. "What are we going to do? They won't stop until they get what they want." Olivia's mind raced, her detective instincts kicking into high gear. "What exactly is it they're after, Sarah? What did Dominic hide that's so important?" Sarah hesitated, conflict clear in her eyes. Finally she spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "The ledger. Dominic kept meticulous records of all the syndicate's operations. Names, dates, amounts, everything." Olivia's eyes widened as she realized the implications. That kind of information could bring down the entire organization. Sarah nodded grimly. "And now they think I have it, or that I know where it is." As they sped through the city, Olivia made a split-second decision. "We're going to the police station. It's our best chance at protection." Back in the SUV, Gabriel was led into an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the city. The cavernous space was filled with rusting machinery and stacks of forgotten crates. Kane motioned for Gabriel to sit in a solitary chair in the center of the room. "Now, Mr. Thornton," Kane said, his voice echoing in the empty space, "let's discuss the whereabouts of Sarah Blackwood and the item she was supposed to retrieve for us." Gabriel's mind raced, trying to buy time. "I don't know what you're talking about. My only concern is the well-being of Ethan and Noah." Kane's eyes narrowed dangerously. "Those children are leverage, nothing more. Dominic Blackwood left behind something very valuable, and Sarah knows where it is. You're going to help us find her." As Kane spoke, Gabriel's eyes darted around the warehouse, looking for any possible escape route. Suddenly, a flicker of movement caught his attention. In the shadows of the upper walkway, he glimpsed a familiar face. Judge Winters had somehow followed them, and he wasn't alone. Hope surged through Gabriel, but he kept his face impassive. He needed to keep Kane talking to buy time for whatever rescue was being planned. "Even if I knew where Sarah was," Gabriel said, injecting a note of defeat into his voice, "why would I help you? You've threatened my family." Kane leaned in close, his breath hot on Gabriel's face. "Because, Mr. Thornton, if you don't cooperate, those children you're so fond of will suffer the consequences. We have eyes everywhere. One word from me, and they disappear forever." The threat sent a chill down Gabriel's spine, but before he could respond, chaos erupted. The sound of breaking glass filled the air as figures in tactical gear rappelled from the upper windows. Shouts of "Police! Freeze!" echoed through the warehouse. In the ensuing confusion, Gabriel seized his opportunity. He tackled Kane to the ground, wrestling for control of the gun that appeared in the man's hand. They grappled on the cold concrete, each fighting for dominance. Suddenly a shot rang out. Gabriel felt a searing pain in his side, but adrenaline kept him moving. He managed to disarm Kane just as the police reached them, subduing the criminal leader. As Gabriel was helped to his feet, he saw Judge Winters rushing towards him, concern etched on his face. "Gabriel, are you all right?" Gabriel nodded, wincing at the pain in his side. "I'll live. The children, Olivia." "They're safe," Winters assured him. "Olivia got Sarah to the police station. They're under protection." Relief washed over Gabriel, but it was short-lived. As the adrenaline began to fade, the gravity of the situation hit him. The danger wasn't over. As long as the syndicate believed Sarah had Dominic's ledger, Ethan and Noah would be at risk. In the aftermath of the warehouse raid, Gabriel found himself in a hospital room, his side bandaged and his mind whirling with unanswered questions. Olivia burst in, her face a mix of relief and worry. "Gabriel," she cried, rushing to his bedside. "Thank God you're all right." As they embraced, mindful of his injury, Gabriel felt a surge of emotion. "The children?" he asked urgently. "Safe," Olivia assured him. "Mrs. Winters got them to the panic room. They're scared, but unharmed." Gabriel closed his eyes, a wave of relief washing over him. When he opened them again, his gaze was steely with determination. "We need to end this, Olivia, for good." Olivia nodded, her detective's mind already working. "Sarah's agreed to cooperate fully. She's going to help us find Dominic's ledger." As they discussed their next steps, neither of them noticed the nurse, who paused outside the door, listening intently. As she walked away, she pulled out a cell phone, dialing a number with practiced ease. "It's me," she said quietly. "Thornton survived, and I know where we can find the ledger." The pieces were set for the final confrontation. Gabriel, still recovering but driven by paternal love and a fierce need to protect his family, was about to face the fight of his life. The battle for Ethan and Noah had evolved into something far larger and more dangerous than a simple custody dispute. As night fell over the city, various players moved into position. The syndicate, desperate to recover the incriminating ledger. Sarah, torn between her past and her children's future. And at the center of it all, Gabriel and Olivia, determined to protect their family at any cost. The stage was set for a showdown that would determine not just the fate of two children, but the future of a criminal empire and the very definition of what it means to be a family. The Thornton mansion was a hive of activity in the days following Sarah's abduction. Gabriel, still recovering from his injuries, pored over maps and documents spread across his study, searching for any clue to the syndicate's whereabouts. Olivia coordinated with her police contacts, pushing every lead to its limit. Amidst the chaos, Ethan's small voice cut through the tension. "Dad, is Mom really coming back this time?" Gabriel turned to find the boy standing in the doorway, his eyes wide with a mixture of hope and fear. The question hit him like a physical blow. How could he explain the complexities of the situation to a child who had already been through so much? Kneeling down to Ethan's level, Gabriel chose his words carefully. "Ethan, I promise you we're doing everything we can to bring your mom home safely. But no matter what happens, I want you to know that you and Noah are safe here. You're loved, and your family." Ethan's lower lip trembled as he threw his arms around Gabriel's neck. "I love you, Dad," he whispered. The moment was interrupted by Olivia's urgent call from the other room. "Gabriel, we've got something." Giving Ethan a reassuring squeeze, Gabriel rushed to join Olivia. She was hunched over her laptop, excitement evident in her voice. "We've traced the IP address Sarah used to access the digital ledger. It's coming from an old office building on the outskirts of town." Hope surged through Gabriel. "That has to be where they're holding her. We need to move now." As they prepared for the rescue mission, Gabriel couldn't shake a nagging feeling of unease. It seemed too easy, too convenient, but with Sarah's life on the line, they couldn't afford to hesitate. The old office building loomed before them, its windows dark and uninviting. Gabriel, Olivia, and a team of trusted officers approached cautiously, weapons at the ready. "Remember," Gabriel whispered, "Sarah's safety is our top priority. We get her out no matter what." They breached the building swiftly, clearing floor after floor of empty offices. The eerie silence was broken only by their cautious footsteps and the occasional crackle of their radios. Finally, on the top floor, they heard muffled voices coming from behind a heavy oak door. Gabriel's heart raced as Olivia gave the signal to move in. The door burst open and chaos erupted. Gunshots rang out as Kane's men opened fire. Gabriel dove for cover, his eyes frantically searching for Sarah amidst the mayhem. There in the corner he spotted her. Sarah was hunched over a computer, her fingers flying across the keyboard. Even as bullets whizzed past, she remained focused on her task. "Sarah," Gabriel called out, ducking as a bullet splintered the wood near his head. "We need to go now." Sarah's eyes met his, filled with a mixture of fear and determination. "I can't. Not yet. I'm almost done transferring the files. This is our only chance to bring them down." Understanding dawned on Gabriel. Sarah wasn't just a victim in all this, she was fighting back, using the very information that had put her family in danger to dismantle the syndicate. With renewed purpose, Gabriel provided cover fire as Olivia made her way to Sarah's side. "How much longer?" Olivia shouted over the gunfire. 30 seconds. Sarah replied, her fingers never pausing. Those 30 seconds felt like an eternity. Gabriel watched in horror as Khan himself emerged from the shadows, his gun trained directly on Sarah. Time seemed to slow as Gabriel made a split-second decision. He lunged forward, putting himself between Kane and Sarah just as the gun went off. Pain exploded in Gabriel's shoulder as the bullet found its mark. He stumbled but remained standing, his own weapon now aimed at Kane. "It's over," Gabriel growled through gritted teeth. "Drop the gun." Kane's eyes darted between Gabriel and the computer where Sarah was working. With a snarl of frustration, he realized he was outnumbered and outmaneuvered. Just as Kane began to lower his weapon, Sarah's triumphant cry rang out, "It's done. I've sent everything to the FBI." The room fell silent for a moment as the implications of her words sank in. Then, with a roar of rage, Kane made one last desperate lunge towards Sarah. Gabriel didn't hesitate. His gun barked once and Kane crumpled to the floor. As the echoes of the gunshot faded, the room erupted into a flurry of activity. Police officers swarmed in, securing the remaining syndicate members. Paramedics rushed to tend to the wounded, including Gabriel. Amidst the chaos, Gabriel found himself face to face with Sarah. Her eyes were filled with a mixture of gratitude and something deeper, more complex. "You saved me," she said softly. "After everything, why?" Gabriel winced as the paramedic tended to his shoulder, because it was the right thing to do, and because those boys need their mother. Tears welled up in Sarah's eyes. "Gabriel, I've made so many mistakes. But seeing you with Ethan and Noah, how much you love them, I know now that they couldn't ask for a better father." The weight of her words hung between them, a tacit acknowledgement of the bond Gabriel had formed with the children. As they were led out of the building, Olivia joined them, her face etched with concern for Gabriel's injury, but relief evident in her eyes. "It's really over," she breathed, taking Gabriel's uninjured hand in hers. Gabriel nodded, the full impact of the night's events beginning to sink in. They had faced down a criminal syndicate, rescued Sarah, and potentially brought an end to a vast network of corruption. But as the adrenaline began to fade, Gabriel's thoughts turned to Ethan and Noah, waiting anxiously at home. The real challenge, he realized, was just beginning. How would they explain all of this to the boys? How would they move forward as a family, with all the complicated history and emotions involved? As they drove back to the mansion, Gabriel, Sarah, and Olivia sat in contemplative silence. Each of them knew that the coming days would be filled with difficult conversations and decisions. But for now, there was a sense of peace. They had survived, they had triumphed, and most importantly, they had protected the children they all loved. As the first rays of dawn broke over the horizon, Gabriel felt a glimmer of hope for the future. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together as a family. The battle was over, but the journey of healing and rebuilding was just beginning. The weeks following the dramatic showdown with Kane's syndicate were a whirlwind of activity and emotion. Gabriel, his arm in a sling, found himself navigating not only his physical recovery, but also the delicate process of redefining their family dynamic. The Thornton mansion, once a battleground of tension and fear, slowly began to transform into a place of healing and cautious hope. Ethan and Noah, initially bewildered by the sudden reappearance of their mother, gradually adjusted to the new reality of having both Sarah and Gabriel in their lives. One sunny afternoon, Gabriel sat on the patio, watching as Sarah played with the boys in the garden. The sound of their laughter, once so rare, now filled the air regularly. Olivia joined him, handing him a cup of coffee. "How are you holding up?" she asked, her eyes searching his face. Gabriel sighed, a mix of emotions playing across his features. "It's complicated. Seeing Sarah with the boys, it's clear how much they've missed her, but I can't help feeling like you're losing them," Olivia finished gently. He nodded, grateful for her understanding. "I know it's selfish. Sarah is their mother, and she's been through hell. But the thought of not being their father anymore." Olivia took his hand, squeezing it reassuringly. "Gabriel, you will always be their father. The bond you formed with Ethan and Noah, it's not something that can be erased. We just need to find a way to move forward that works for everyone." Their conversation was interrupted by Ethan's excited voice. "Dad, Olivia, come play with us." As they joined the others in the garden, Gabriel couldn't help but notice the way Sarah tensed slightly when Ethan called him Dad. It was a stark reminder of the complex emotions at play. Later that evening, after the children were in bed, Gabriel, Olivia, and Sarah sat down for a long overdue conversation. "We need to discuss what happens next," Gabriel began, his voice steady despite the churning in his stomach. "Sarah, I want you to know that you're welcome to stay here as long as you need. The boys need their mother." Sarah nodded, tears glistening in her eyes. "Thank you, Gabriel. I can't express how grateful I am for everything you've done. For the boys, for me, but I also know that I've caused so much pain and disruption to your lives." Olivia leaned forward, her detective's instincts kicking in. "Sarah, what exactly are you saying?" Sarah took a deep breath, steadying herself. "I've been offered a chance to testify against the remnants of the syndicate. In exchange, the FBI is willing to put me in witness protection. It would mean leaving, starting over somewhere new." The words hung heavily in the air. Gabriel felt as if the wind had been knocked out of him. "And the boys?" he managed to ask. "That's why I wanted to talk to you both," Sarah said, her voice shaking slightly. "I love Ethan and Noah more than anything in this world, but after everything that's happened, I'm not sure I'm what's best for them right now." Gabriel and Olivia exchanged shocked glances. This was not at all what they had expected. "Sarah," Olivia said gently, "are you saying you want Gabriel to continue raising the boys?" Sarah nodded, tears now flowing freely. "I've seen how much they love you both, how stable and happy they are here. I can't bear the thought of uprooting them again, of putting them in danger if the syndicate ever found us." Gabriel felt a whirlwind of emotions, relief, guilt, hope, and sadness all mixed together. "Sarah, are you sure about this? They're your children." "They're your children too, Gabriel," Sarah said firmly. "You've been more of a parent to them in the past year than I've been able to be in a long time. I'm not saying I want to disappear from their lives entirely, but I think the best thing for them is to stay here with you and Olivia." The conversation continued late into the night as they discussed logistics, legal implications, and most importantly, how to explain this to Ethan and Noah. By the time they finally retired to bed, a tentative plan had been formed. The next few months were a period of adjustment for everyone. Sarah stayed at the mansion, spending quality time with the boys while also preparing them for her eventual departure. Gabriel and Olivia worked with lawyers to formalize their guardianship of the children, with provisions for Sarah to maintain contact from wherever the witness protection program placed her. Explaining the situation to Ethan and Noah was one of the hardest things Gabriel had ever done. There were tears, questions, and moments of confusion, but slowly, with patience and love, the boys began to understand that this arrangement didn't mean losing anyone. It meant having an even bigger, more unconventional family. As the day of Sarah's departure drew near, Gabriel found her in the garden, watching the boys play from a distance. "Are you sure about this?" he asked quietly, joining her. Sarah turned to him, her eyes filled with a mix of sadness and resolution. "I am. It's not easy, but I know it's what's best for them. And Gabriel, thank you. For loving them, for being the father they deserve." Gabriel nodded, unable to find words to express the complex emotions he felt. Instead, he simply stood with Sarah, both of them watching the children they loved, united in their desire to give Ethan and Noah the best possible future. The day Sarah left was emotional for everyone. There were hugs, tears, and promises to stay in touch as much as her new situation would allow. As her car drove away, Gabriel held Ethan and Noah close, Olivia's comforting presence beside them. "Is Mom really gone?" Ethan asked, his voice small and confused. Gabriel knelt down, looking both boys in the eyes. "Your mom loves you very much, and she'll always be a part of our family. But sometimes love means making hard choices to keep the people we care about safe. We're your family too, and we'll always be here for you no matter what." As they walked back into the house together, Gabriel felt a sense of peace settle over him. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but they would face it as a family, unconventional perhaps, but bound by love stronger than any blood tie. The custody battle that had begun so tumultuously had transformed into something none of them could have predicted. It had forged new bonds, redefined the meaning of family, and ultimately given Ethan and Noah the stability and love they so desperately needed. As Gabriel tucked the boys into bed that night, he realized that the true measure of family wasn't in DNA or legal documents, but in the love, sacrifice, and commitment shared between people who chose to be there for each other, no matter what. With Olivia by his side and the love of Ethan and Noah in his heart, Gabriel Thornton knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together as a family. 5 years had passed since the tumultuous events that had brought the Thornton family together. The mansion, once a symbol of Gabriel's solitary success, now buzzed with the warmth and chaos of family life. On a bright Saturday morning, Gabriel stood in the kitchen, flipping pancakes as Ethan, now a lanky 11-year-old, set the table. Noah, at 7, was perched on a stool, carefully squeezing orange juice into glasses. "Dad," Ethan began, a thoughtful expression on his face, "do you think Mom will be able to make it to my soccer championship next month?" Gabriel paused, considering his response carefully. Sarah's visits, though infrequent due to the witness protection program, were always eagerly anticipated by the boys. "I'm not sure, buddy, but we'll definitely ask her when she calls next week, and you know Olivia and I wouldn't miss it for the world." Ethan nodded, a mix of understanding and disappointment in his eyes. Gabriel's heart ached, knowing how much the boys still yearned for their mother's presence. But he was grateful for the strong bond they had all forged over the years. As if on cue, Olivia entered the kitchen, her hair mussed from sleep. "Something smells delicious," she said, dropping a kiss on Gabriel's cheek before ruffling Noah's hair. "Dad's making chocolate chip pancakes," Noah exclaimed, his face lighting up. Olivia laughed, the sound filling the kitchen with joy. "Well, then we'd better eat quickly. We've got a big day ahead of us, remember?" The boys' eyes widened with excitement. Today was the day they'd all been looking forward to for months, the official adoption ceremony. Though Gabriel and Olivia had been raising Ethan and Noah as their own for years, this final legal step felt momentous. As they sat down to breakfast, Gabriel couldn't help but marvel at how far they'd come. The custody battle that had once threatened to tear them apart had ultimately brought them closer together, forging a family bond stronger than any legal document could define. After breakfast, as they all got dressed in their best clothes, Gabriel found himself standing in front of the mirror, adjusting his tie with slightly trembling hands. Olivia peered behind him, wrapping her arms around his waist. "Nervous?" she asked softly. Gabriel met her eyes in the reflection. "A little," he admitted. "It feels like we've been working towards this for so long. I just want everything to be perfect for the boys." Olivia smiled, her eyes shining with love. "It already is perfect, Gabriel. We're a family in every way that matters. Today is just making it official." As they gathered in the foyer, ready to leave for the courthouse, Gabriel's phone buzzed with a text message. His breath caught as he read it. "Everything okay, Dad?" Ethan asked, concern etched on his young face. Gabriel looked up, a smile spreading across his face. "Everything's wonderful. That was a message from your mom. She's arranged a surprise video call for after the ceremony." The boys' faces lit up with joy, and Gabriel felt a wave of gratitude wash over him. Despite the challenges and distances, Sarah had remained a loving presence in their lives, supporting the unique family dynamic they had created. At the courthouse, surrounded by friends and family, Gabriel and Olivia stood before the judge, Ethan and Noah between them. And as they recited their vows to love and care for the boys as their legal parents, Gabriel felt a sense of completion he had never known before. "By the power vested in me," the judge announced, a voice warm with emotion, "I hereby declare Ethan and Noah to be the legal children of Gabriel and Olivia Thornton. Congratulations to you all." The room erupted in cheers and applause. Gabriel knelt down, gathering both boys in a tight embrace, tears of joy streaming down his face. Olivia joined them, her arms encircling them all. "We love you so much," Gabriel whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "You've made us a family in every way that matters." As they left the courthouse, stepping out into the bright sunlight, Gabriel felt a profound sense of peace. The journey that had begun with a chance encounter on a cold night had led them here, to this moment of pure joy and belonging. Back at home, gathered around the computer for the video call with Sarah, Gabriel watched as Ethan and Noah excitedly shared the details of the ceremony with their mother. Sarah's face, beaming with pride and love, filled the screen. "Well, I'm so happy for you all," Sarah said, her eyes glistening. "Gabriel, Olivia, thank you for giving our boys the family they deserve." Gabriel squeezed Olivia's hand, feeling the weight of Sarah's words. "We're all family now," he replied. "Different, maybe, but stronger for it." As the call ended and the boys ran off to change out of their formal clothes, Gabriel and Olivia stood in the quiet of the study, arms around each other. "We did it," Olivia murmured, leaning her head on his shoulder. Gabriel kissed the top of her head, his heart full to bursting. "We did, and this is just the beginning." Looking out the window at the garden, where Ethan and Noah were now playing, their laughter drifting through the open window, Gabriel reflected on the incredible journey that had brought them to this point. From a ruthless businessman, focused only on wealth and power, he had become a father, a partner, and a man who understood the true value of family and love. The custody battle that had once seemed like the greatest challenge of his life had, in fact, been the key to unlocking a happiness he never knew was possible. It had taught him the true meaning of sacrifice, the depth of a parent's love, and the unbreakable bonds that define a family. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over their home, Gabriel Thornton knew with absolute certainty that he was exactly where he was meant to be. Surrounded by the love of his children and his partner, he had found his true purpose and his greatest success. The journey hadn't been easy, but every struggle, every tear, and every moment of uncertainty had led to this, a family bound not by blood, but by choice, by love, and by the unshakable commitment to stand by each other. no matter what challenges lay ahead. And as Gabriel joined his family in the garden, pulling Olivia close and watching Ethan teach Noah a new soccer trick, he silently vowed to cherish every moment, to never take this precious gift for granted, and to always remember the incredible journey that had brought them all together. The laughter of his children, the warmth of Olivia's embrace, and the peace in his heart were testament to the power of love to heal, to transform, and to create something beautiful out of even the most difficult circumstances. This was his legacy, his greatest achievement, a family built on love, trust, and the unbreakable bonds of the heart. Family isn't defined by blood or DNA, but by the love we choose to give and the bonds we forge through adversity. Gabriel Thornton's journey from a cold-hearted businessman to a loving father reminds us that our true wealth lies not in our bank accounts, but in the hearts we touch and the lives we change. Every child deserves a home filled with love, stability, and acceptance. Sometimes the family we need isn't the one we're born into, but the one we create through compassion and commitment. Ethan and Noah's story shows us that healing is possible, even from the deepest wounds, when surrounded by unwavering love and support. Life often presents us with unexpected challenges, but it's how we face these trials that defines us. Gabriel, Olivia, and even Sarah demonstrate that true strength comes from putting the needs of our children above our own desires and ego. In our darkest moments when we feel lost and alone, remember that family, whether by blood or by choice, can be our guiding light. It's never too late to open your heart, to become the person someone else needs you to be. As you reflect on your own life, ask yourself, what legacy am I creating? Am I building walls or bridges? Am I measuring my success by my possessions or by the love I give and receive? Remember, the most beautiful families are often the ones that don't fit the traditional mold. They're built on understanding, forgiveness, and the daily choice to love unconditionally. In the end, our greatest achievement isn't measured in dollars or accolades, but in the smiles of the children we nurture, the strength of the partnerships we build, and the depth of the love we share. That is the true measure of a life well lived. Thank you for joining us on this emotional journey through Gabriel Thornton's story. Your support and engagement mean the world to us and fuel our passion for storytelling. And if this tale of love, redemption, and the true meaning of family resonated with you, we'd be thrilled if you could leave a comment with the number 1. It's a simple gesture that speaks volumes and helps us understand what touches your hearts. Curious about what the future holds for the Thornton family? If you're eager to hear more and want us to create part 3 of this saga, please leave a comment with the number 3. Your enthusiasm is our inspiration. We value your thoughts and perspectives. If there were aspects of the story you disagreed with or would like to discuss further, please share your opinions in the comments. Your feedback helps us grow and improve as storytellers. Lastly, if you enjoyed this narrative and would like to support our team in creating more heartfelt stories, please consider subscribing to our channel. Each subscription is a vote of confidence and encouragement that pushes us to explore new depths in our storytelling. Remember, your engagement, whether through likes, comments, or subscriptions, is the lifeblood of our creative process. It's what drives us to keep crafting narratives that touch hearts and spark conversations. Thank you for being part of our storytelling community. Together, let's continue to explore the beautiful, complex tapestry of human emotions and experiences.